Welcome back to NRG Stadium as we are here live on NewOrleans.Football breaking down this Saints' ugly loss to the Houston Texans. Look, the defense figured it out at halftime and got things corrected in the second half. Meanwhile, the offense just continued to regress. It seems like the tensions only got higher as this game went on between the offense. We're going to be breaking down everything we saw, all of the numbers, including the ugly red zone numbers here on this show. Nick, they're just going to have to sit tight. Sit tight, guys. We'll be answering your questions as well. I'll be looking at the chat, but we at least will hopefully find some answers in this analysis for,
I don't know.
for the game. And
we've got the answers?
We've got some answers. Yes, some answers.
They don't have the answers, but
yes.
If you have medical needs, you know who has answers to our hospital and the LCMC Medical Network. Make sure you go check them out. They'll get you right if you need to get right. And if you need to get your day started or just need a pick-me-up or just like the taste of coffee, go check out PJ's. They got locations all throughout the city. Best coffee, awesome customer service, good pastries, all that stuff. So make sure you check them out. And if you need a new car, go check out my guy Matt Bowers. Car dealerships all over the Gulf Coast region. Pretty much every type of car you could want. If you want no BS purchasing of a car, no hassle, no hidden fees, any of that crap, go check them out. They'll take care of you. That's where I buy all my cars. I vouch for them. All right, let's hit these ads. The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. Are you looking for the perfect engagement ring? Look no further than Friend & Company Fine Jewelers' new engagement salon. This new area houses a wide selection of engagement rings to choose from in all cuts, sizes, and colors. Their experienced staff offer 5-star customer care to help you find the perfect ring to express your love. Visit their new engagement salon today. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, the perfect ring for the perfect moment and also for the perfect person. 7713 Maple Street between Adams and Burdett Street. 504-866-5433. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Check them out at friendandcompany.com.
For fast relief coffee.
Mike Hoss here. When the AC goes out and it's hot outside, every second counts. For over 40 years, Keefe's AC Heating and Electrical has helped thousands of families stay cool in the sizzling hot months. Keefe's Get You Cool in 3 hours or less guarantee is what our customers love the most on the North or South Shore. Call Keefe's. We'll get you cool in 3 hours or less guaranteed.
Keefe's Air Conditioning and Heating.
And now electrical.
For fast relief, call Keefe.
Moe's Barbecue is located in Metairie. They have your game day needs taken care of. Whether you're tailgating or watching the Black and Gold or LSU at home with friends, Moe's has you covered. Order pulled pork, wings, ribs, sides, and more. Come in with the family for lunch and dinner as our kids' meals will please even the pickiest of eaters. Tailgating, parties at home, lunch and dinner, Moe's Barbecue will handle it all. Moe's Original Barbecue, 1101 North Causeway Boulevard between 48th and 49th Street in Metairie. Call 504-407-5333 for your catering order today. 504-407-5333. Moe's Original Barbecue in Metairie. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show.
Let's get into our lead topic presented by Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers is home to a new engagement salon where they have a wide selection of engagement rings. And while you're there, ask them about their fleur-de-lis earrings and necklace. They are specially priced for our NOF listeners. Look, it might brighten your week up a little bit after this loss. I don't know what will, but let's get into the lead topic. We needed to see if the offense could put back-to-back weeks of seeing some consistency. We didn't. So what now?
I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of they're stuck in the doldrums. It's just the same thing over and over and over, and it's been going on for 2 seasons now. And we've seen the ups. We were afraid of the downs. We saw the same thing last year against the Raiders, shot them out 24-0, one of Pete Carmichael's best games. Next week they kind of lay an egg. I actually don't really – look, I have criticisms of the stuff Carmichael did today, but there was creativity to it, and I think you got to tip your hat to that. 36% of the plays had motion on it. I think that's probably the highest ever in Pete Carmichael's tenure with the Saints. They did a lot of stuff with jet sweeps, reverses, all the stuff you want to see. They get to the red zone, they do some really poor things down there. I thought the play calling at the end of the game was atrocious. I mean, you're going for the end zone on 4 downs in a row, pretty much operating as if you got to get a pass to the sidelines. You finish that series with a timeout in your pocket, which is unfathomable to me. Do something to get into a better manageable situation on 3rd down, play 2-down football, get a 1st down, get 7 yards, call a timeout, something. That was crazy to me. The 4th down call to Alvin where they threw the ball 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage. He doesn't get the 1st down. That was insane to me too, but there was some stuff in this game that I thought was a little bit better, and I thought a lot of it was, as we heard in the locker room after the game, player execution. So I think there's dirty hands all around. I don't think that you hold Carmichael out there as a scapegoat, but I don't think he's clean from it either. But there are a lot of people who look bad after this game.
I mean, we could rank what was worse, but it doesn't look this bad if they're not all to blame. I mean, so it's kind of futile to be like, was it execution or was it play calling? This is what it looks like when it's both. For those 2 plays that you called out, they did give explanations after the game. The one where he went with the check down to Alvin, that's not what was called. He was looking for Mike on that play, which is what we would all yell. You should be looking for Mike. He said the linebacker was on him. He said he can't throw an interception in that example, so he checked down to Alvin and thought hopefully he can make a play. He said the same thing worked in New England. And then at the end of the game, Dennis Allen explained that was their adjustment. I asked why it was 4 deep passes in a row. I said, was that called? Was that an adjustment? He said, the way the Texans were blitzing, that was the opportunities they were giving him, and he thought that they hit on the opportunity of Rashid Shaheed, which was clearly a failed execution. Rashid Shaheed looks up, the ball's over here. I wrote about that a lot. That was all day long. Quarterback throwing to a spot, receiver in another spot. Now, that's coaching, too. That is an inexcusable thing to be seeing 6 weeks into the season, that the quarterback and the receivers keep being on the wrong page, not knowing he's throwing here, thinking a receiver's going here, a receiver goes here. That's coaching, that's execution, it's all of it. But just the offense is not working, and everyone deserves all the blame you want to heap on all of them.
When it's not working like it has been, it brings up the conversation again, will changes come? And we have continually talked about Pete Carmichael, that if he can show some level of consistency and show that he can put good game plans back-to-back weeks, the pressure comes off a little bit. We said in New England, if he does not have some consistency in back-to-back weeks, the pressure almost goes a little bit higher than it was before he was heading into Green Bay. So is it finally time for the Saints to make a change with the play caller?
Not today, because it just so happens they have a Thursday night game coming, but that makes a very sort of natural calendar deadline on this. If we see the same thing and then they have, 10 days before their next game, it's kind of like you don't want to be the coach on the hot seat with a bye week coming up. I think a Thursday night game kind of puts that same thing. That gives them time to have 4 days and really reassess. And Dennis Allen said in a very sort of vague, non-specific way, but pretty firmly compared to what we've heard from him in the past, all the people that are screwing up, he said, if you continue to make these mistakes, we're going to find someone else. And someone followed up and asked, do you just mean players? And he goes, players, coaches, all of us, we're all responsible, and we're going to be held responsible.
Yeah, I think if they lose 2 games in a row, and it's because of the offense, and you can't get anything going, got to save your season. And I was a little taken aback by the vibe in the locker room today. It was just kind of like, There's been frustration, but it just kind of was like it was.
They're pissed off now.
They are
the frustration
pissed.
hit. Like I said, the pressure cooker would only get higher if Pete Carmichael was not able to put together back-to-back good games. Which, yes, it falls on the players as well. Execution, things like that. But when the offense looks that out of sync, how do you not look at the play caller? You can tell that the frustration is there. Michael Thomas wasn't willing to put the blame on the coaches, calling out the players as well. A lot of the guys were self-reflective, saying that it's all of us. Everybody has to get better. This video, though, that surfaced after the game, to me, screams that a change could be on the way. We're going to go ahead and pull that video up that we found. Appreciate the guy that sent it to us. So it's Derek Carr walking straight off the field and going at Pete Carmichael on the sideline after the last failed red zone trip. Carr is visibly upset, and we're showing this video because, to me, it's a sign of lack of communication, not even just what was going on in this play. I mean, he's all out upset with the play calls that happened on that series, which, in my opinion, the Saints had plenty of opportunities to be back in this game. When you see a video like that where the quarterback is just going at the offensive coordinator and there's no real give and take back from the offensive coordinator, no fire coming back at the quarterback, to me, that's just not a good sign. I know that's not in Pete Carmichael's character to be that guy that would fire back or yell at a player, but if your quarterback's coming at you this heavily,
look,
it's not good.
I think when things are bad, everything's open for criticism and interpretation and all that stuff. I will say that we've seen stuff like this before, and it doesn't necessarily always look. I was screaming at Brandon the other day because I was pissed about how a clip came out. It doesn't mean that Brandon's going anywhere. Like, sometimes it's just you're pissed off. Like, you're in an atmosphere where you got to scream at people, and people need to scream back, and it's just kind of the way it goes. So I don't know if I take it that way, but, like, it is bad enough that you watch it and you take notice for sure. It could be evidence towards something, but again, it just might be like, hey, like, we can't score in the red zone. Carr's probably pissed off too. Like, he's been bad in the red zone his whole entire career. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure there's frustration coming out on other people. He should be frustrated at himself because this is something he's not been good at his whole entire career. 33% of the way into the season now, the zebra still has the same stripes. You know, so it's just kind of like this thing that we were looking at before, like, oh, well, it's the Raiders, it's the play calling. He did this with Gruden, whatever. Like, no, like, this is kind of a real thing now. And it's not something that you can whistle past anymore. You can blame all these other things, but it has been way too consistent for it not to have some realness to it. I'm sorry, but he has to exonerate himself from this now. The benefit of doubt on the red zone stuff is long gone. It is a significant issue, and it's why they're losing games.
A couple of things. First of all, that video, it looks like he's yelling at Pete Carmichael. He probably was. But, I mean, it could also be one of those where Pete asked the question, what happened on that play? And because we know that Shaheed screwed up, it could just as easily be 2 plays in a row the receiver ran the wrong damn route. Like, I mean, and yelling angrily with his hands at that. I mean, so we just need to say for sure we did not get the chance to ask them what he was yelling about. He could have been yelling an answer to him while slamming his helmet off and saying, I can't believe, those 2 plays didn't work. Those should have worked. Especially since Dennis Allen, while saying, when asked about those play calls, said, we had opportunities, and they were blown for that reason. So that is also a possibility. But obviously it seemed like frustration. But the other thing, I asked Derek Carr the very first question, which was sort of a general, what's your take on how that game played out? And he goes, I was livid. I was angry. Walking off the field, I needed to calm myself down. Like, he admitted it too. Like, he led with that. He didn't try to give I was poised and calm and will live to fight another day. He described himself exactly as that video showed him. And then we went on to talk in a lot more detail about all the things that is not working and the things he's angry about. But he openly admitted that that's how he left that field in that state of mind, as he should.
Absolutely. And he should be angry after a performance like that, not just at the players or the play calling, but at himself as well. I mean, he underperformed in this game as well. There were some plays that probably should have been interceptions thrown throughout this game. But the one thing Derek Carr did say that was a positive is that his shoulder injury, it's the best he's felt since injuring it. So that's no longer an excuse either or a hindrance.
He did throw for over 350 yards, 50 attempts, QB sneak. So, yeah.
He hit 350?
350.
That's a hollow 350.
350 with 13 points.
Insane.
350 with 1 touchdown.
That is an empty 350.
That's what red zone struggles look like. You can throw for 3. I mean, from there to there. They were moving,
How
baby.
about this stat, too, that we were talking about in the first half? Taysom Hill had a career-high receptions in the first half alone.
I believe they were going to him a lot early in the game. I thought the decision.
What a weird stats.
The decision to throw to him in contested coverage, though, that's something that they shouldn't do. He just doesn't.
Right.
He doesn't have the hand strength. He used to fumble snaps all the time. He just doesn't have good enough hands to kind of be in those situations. But I thought he did okay overall. I like the fact that they're finding other ways to get him involved.
All right, moving along, Demario Davis gave a speech that we ended up hearing about from the players. Demario Davis gave a speech in the post-game locker room about accountability. Here's the Cliff Notes version of this speech. He said they need to take a look in the mirror and see if they are sacrificing enough, each player sacrificing enough of themselves during the week in preparation and things like that. But this particular quote sat with me. Carr quoted Demario saying, "Did you just enjoy the week too much?" I mean, when you're calling out a player, you're, the guys around you in the locker room saying, did you guys just enjoy the win too much and not get refocused? That, to me, screams everybody needs to get back on track. This is the time when it's finally hit ahead that they've got to get this stuff corrected or they're going to lose the locker room and the coaches are going to lose the locker room with the players.
The leaders, I was a little bit struck by how strongly the
Yes.
leaders of this team were speaking out against kind of the culture of the team, because the one thing that they've had all along is culture, and it's the thing that they held on to. It's why they fought to keep this together, and it kind of sounds like some of the people on the team aren't as bought into the way as the old guard used to do things. And nobody specifically got called out, and I don't even know that you could say they were actually calling anyone out. They were kind of just making statements to people that were unspecific. But I talked to Cam Jordan about it. He's like, look, if it hit you, like, you're the one that needed to hear it. So
Yeah.
they were calling out without calling out. But Alvin's comments after the game were incredibly strong. He's fed up. He kind of put everybody on notice, said, hey, look, like, we need to know if we can count on you. And if we can't, like, then we got to figure something else out. Like, it was surprising to me. And I thought the atmosphere in there, we were talking to some of these people together, like, I thought the atmosphere in there was kind of great. Like, they're 3-3 right now, but it almost felt like they were like a 1-5 team. Like, the vibe in the locker room, for me as an observer, I'm not saying they feel that way. I'm just saying, tell me if I'm crazy. Like, it felt like a low moment. Like, they know that this thing is very close to, like, careening, and I think they're a little bit scared about letting it go off the rails.
It wasn't quite as bad as the Pittsburgh loss locker room, because to me, that's when it was.
That was as bad as I've
the
ever
fact
been
that Tyrann Mathieu, like, we're a bad team. I mean, they're not there yet, but they have another game like this. They might be.
That's funny that you mentioned that game, because what I was going to say is, again, we're the vibe doctors, the experts here that's reading vibe. But last year, I felt like this team kind of, it settled in that they weren't a good team. And I think that was the frustration we saw. This is a team that feels like they should be way better, and they're blowing it. And they're as stunned as we are that, not that they're 3-3 with a talented team, but that they're like self-destructing in such a spectacular way. I mean, if you hit reset on the old Nintendo button and played these same opponents, these same 6 games, should absolutely, like, just do one or two things better. They should be 5-1. Now, that would be a hollow 5-1, but they had no business losing the Green Bay game, and I think they had no business losing this game. They did so many things wrong to barely lose to a team that did. CJ Stroud looked pretty good for the first 2 quarters, but this team didn't have enough. The Saints beat themselves in this one, and that's when you get this livid, when you're beating yourself the way they are.
All right, let's get to our Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Connor Wallace asks, final drive, they are rushing 7 multiple times. We have a timeout and plenty of time. Why are all the receivers running go balls? And we actually talked about this. I don't know if you guys just saw Nick's reaction on camera, but it's something that we were just talking about after the game. It's another frustrating series of play calls.
I know Mike said that they thought that's what they were giving them, but, like, I hated it. Like, you can't.
4 times in a row,
they're going
especially.
to the end zone, like, 4 times in a row. Just do something to get it first. Use the timeout. Do something that justifies the timeout. And then having to call a timeout because you can't get a playoff. So you burned a timeout. You don't use another one. The clock management there was spectacularly bad. Like, I am sorry. Like, you have to do something. Like, I don't agree with the game management there. Like, do something to shorten it down, so then hit a quick out on 4th down, like something. But, like, every single time going to the end zone, not doing anything over the middle of the field there was – I just didn't understand it.
It just struck me as another thing that Derek Carr might have been screaming about when he went to the sideline is whatever adjustment they were trying to make before they finally gave up on trying to make the adjustment and called timeout. Obviously, yeah, but – I mean, I don't know that they were like, all right, now's our chance to get the deep shot. I don't know what they saw, what they thought. I don't know how many times Derek Carr switched into that, how many times they called it. But 4 times in a row was ridiculous when they had – I mean, it wasn't just that drive. It was a few drives in a row where, like, the second half they were kind of marching.
Yeah, they were moving the ball.
They were mixing the run and the pass. They were gaining 5 or 7 and there was time on the clock. That stunned me too, that it just, like, all of a sudden it turned into desperation mode there, and I thought
their
why.
offense looked pretty decent the whole game except for the last 20 yards. They were good for 80 yards.
34 yards to be exact.
But, like, yeah, whatever it was. Like, they were fine until they got to that area of the field, and every single time it was just like
anytime they got to
right
the
off the
red
clip.
area. Anytime they got to the red area. Even talking with Michael Thomas in postgame about some of the frustrations, he's like, I think it's fair to say at this point, like, we have to play angry. We have to play pissed off. I don't know how the mentality has to change when they do get to the red zone, but maybe that is the solution. I'm not sure because, as you mentioned, Mike, they were moving the ball. They had figured out how to get down the field, but when it mattered most, it seemed like nothing worked. And I understand, look, you had Ryan Ramczyk leave the game as well as James Hurst. You had to put Trevor Penning back in, who you were wanting to bench so he could learn and watch in a positive way. Then you throw him back out there after you bench him. I'm sure that's going through his head mentally. But again, if you can't get this offensive line going and corrected or healthy, how can you expect to run your offense well?
Yeah. I thought Penning had kind of a tough game too. I mean, but definitely a tough circumstance for him. But you have to score down here. Like you can't have. Would they have 4 trips inside the 35?
They were 0 of 5 inside the 30. 0 of 5 inside the 30. They had 7 trips inside the 35. They were 1 of 7.
They got 3 points, I think, out of it, right?
Well, 10. They had a 34-yard touchdown pass.
Their last 4 drives, they got inside there. They got inside there 4 times.
Yeah.
Inside the 35, like 4 times at the end of the game. Their last 4 trips, and they got 3 points. Look, the other thing we got to talk about here is like Blake Grupe.
Yeah, that's the next topic. Look, what is Blake Grupe's future now that he has missed 3 field goals? And they've been in crucial games now. The Green Bay game, Saints would have been in a better situation had he made that field goal. And then in this game, it would at least put them in a situation where they could have called a timeout and then kick a field goal to win it if he would have made the 2 missed field goals in this game.
As Mike said before, I think one of the things that's going to help him is that they have a Thursday game this week.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably impossible to try to make a change. If this was a Sean Payton-led team, they would have kickers in tomorrow. There's like a little caravan of like 7 kickers that are trying to hook on in the league. They'd work out from city to city. You see someone miss 2 kicks, all 7 of them are there. Like, that's just kind of their thing. They
ride together.
Yeah, they tried to get a job. Like, that's just kind of what happens when you're on the outskirts of the 32 kickers. They would have him in. They might still have him in. He's missed 2 kicks. I'm not saying he should be gone.
3, 2 today.
Well, 2
3
today,
three,
and 1 before. He missed 2 kicks. I'm not saying he should be gone. But I think that the pressure should be on him. But I think he gets life. I think he gets Thursday to kind of save himself. He misses a kick Thursday. Like, I think your hands are kind of tied. And, like, I think Grupe can be a very good NFL kicker. I'm not saying they should give up on him. But your results are your results. Look, here's the thing, though. Like, if you can't score 20 points and your whole offense is getting the ball to Blake Grupe, man, like, it's just it's a difficult situation. It's not even hard to blame him for this. Even though he made both of them kicks, he could have been kicking for the win at the end. But, like, they are far too reliant on their kicker. And if this is the way you're going to play, you should have went out and got a better kicker. Like, you should have got a sure thing somewhere because you got to score points. And if you're going to just play razor-thin margin, you underestimated what your need at kicker was. You put it on Will Lutz, who was shaky. You bring in a college kicker. They should have. I don't know how you make a stronger move, but, like, if this is the way you're living, you didn't make the right investment in this guy that is being relied upon to win you every single game every week.
Yeah, it feels like every one of his kicks is so stressful. He just won NFC Special Teams Player of the Week this week because he kicked 2 50-plus and made them in New England, made all his extra points. Thank goodness he has that on his resume. If this had come like right after the Green Bay loss, he might be gone this week. I think he's at 80% for the year. I think most kickers are usually between 80 and 82%. It always comes out in the wash where, like, the numbers are, like, always around 80%, and it just the 2 out of 10 kicks that you miss always suck, and you just can't do 2 of them in the same game when your team is so desperately counting on you. But is there another kicker out there who's going to be a 90% kicker? No. So, you know, you've got an 80% kicker. How do you live with it? But I think Dennis Allen still has confidence in him. He described the missed kicks as uncharacteristic, which is something you say of somebody you're being supportive of. But he can't afford. He doesn't have a long enough track record to be able to afford many more of these.
We're going to hit a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to continue breaking down this ugly offensive performance with our moment of the game. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
What moment?
Score big with a kickoff combo at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Each comes with fried shrimp, garlic herb fries, and your choice of soft-shelled crab, our famous thin-fried catfish, or traditional catfish, starting at $10.99 at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
Are you tired of renting and ready to own your dream home? Contact Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, your trusted source for home loans. Our competitive rates and flexible terms can help make your home ownership dreams a reality. If you're a first-time home buyer or looking to refinance, our experienced lenders are here to help. Our online application process allows you to apply on your schedule. It's quick, easy, and convenient. Visit us online at jeffersonfinancial.org to learn more. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
At Toro, we were born for moments like this. From bringing new bundles of joy into the world to delivering what new mothers need to stay healthy. Born to keep hearts beating strong and to keep seniors active and healthy for years to come. Because at Turo, we deliver more than babies. From heart care to cancer care and newborns to seniors, at Turo, we're born to care.
Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
I'll take a New Orleans Saints scratch up. Play New Orleans Saints from the lottery. Just scratch, fold, and punch your way to winnings. Punch your ticket with New Orleans Saints. Win up to $100,000. Enter our second chance drawings, giving you a season to smile.
Welcome back to the Mobile Turo Hospital studio as we are breaking down the Saints' loss to the Texans in Week 6. The Saints are now 3-3. Let's get to our moment of the game presented by New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. There were two moments in the game. The two times the Saints went for it on fourth down. There seemed to be zero creativity on the play calling and failing on both of the fourth down opportunities. To me, I was thinking, all right, you fail on the first one, surely they'll come up with something, or they've got something in their bag or back pocket that they didn't show throughout the game, and nothing. Wasn't able to convert.
So Mike said the first one, Carr said he checked down because Mike was covered. I'm going to have to see the play again, but all I know is I hated it. I hate the decision. I don't know, like, hold on to it, see if something opens up, try to redirect something, but, like, when you're throwing, it's 4th and 2, and if you're throwing 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage without anyone blocking for the guy in the flat, you're turning it into a need for 8 yards, and you have two guys coming at you, and now you want Alvin to make a miss. Sure, the magic happened against the Patriots, but, like, man, that seems like you're putting a lot on them. I didn't like it. And then, you know, the other one, they're it's like bombs away. I hated the pass to the flat. Need to see it again. I might be being a little bit unfair here, but, like, I just did not like that at all. Like, if Mike's covered, you have to throw to the flat. I don't know if I like the play call. Like, I don't know. I just got to see it again.
Yeah, it's hard to blame Carr's decision if that was really all he had, but then you blame the play call. And, yeah, the 4th and 10, I don't hate the 4th and 10 necessarily. I hate that they were in 4th and 10.
The lead up to it.
I hate that 4 downs with plenty of time and a timeout, you treated it so differently than you would treat any other drive. Like, why all of a sudden is it touchdown or bust in that situation? That drove me nuts.
They probably didn't want to throw a pass in the red zone. Bypass it. I don't know.
They wanted to get, like, they should have gone for 3 false starts to be back at the 35, and then they'd be like, here, we're good.
Yeah.
Then they could have thrown to the end zone. That's the only touchdown they got today. It's a 34-yard pass to Rashid Shaheed. That worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Saints were 0-3 in the red zone, and a lot of people keep asking, is it Derek Carr? Is it Pete Carmichael? Is it the offense? Because a lot of people look back at Derek Carr's history, and that's where he has struggled in the red zone. But based on what we've seen, is it just a culmination of everything in the red zone with this offense?
I think it is. I think it's the play calls. I think it's the execution. We've pointed out some plays. There's one at the home game. He had, like, Mike in the back of the end zone and didn't get the ball to him. That was something that we saw. I think it's a little bit of everything. So definitely just kind of emblematic of the offensive failures altogether is that, like, it's kind of just like this nasty combo pack of, like, the worst ingredients. And it doesn't make a lot of sense right now. And it's confusing because they should be able to score down there, but they can't. So it might be what Alvin was saying, or run the ball more. Like, I don't know what it is, but, like, the passing plays and the concepts and everything, they've just been so inconsistent and they can't get the production they need.
To be fair, though, before that pass play to Alvin Kamara that you hated on 4th and 4, they ran the ball 5 straight times before that. That didn't work either. They actually, Carr at one point audibled into a run, and they lost a yard on that.
Yeah, that was a back, but that was out of shotgun. Like, that was a crazy run.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, no, but what I'm saying is they screwed up. Every decision they made was wrong.
Get Taysom in there. Like, I don't know what it is, but, like, whatever they're doing is not working, and it's just like you're banging your head against the wall. Doesn't work. Like I don't understand it.
A lot of people are talking about the offensive line. In case you missed it, Ryan Ramczyk left the game with a concussion. James Hurst left the game with an ankle injury, and you just reported that it's not believed that he broke his ankle, which is good news. And then Dennis Allen said,
though it could be a sprain. He's getting checked for like a sprain, lower ankle. Those can linger though. So it could be something that could be an issue, but there's just not enough information.
I don't like
yet.
either of those injuries before a Thursday game, though. I sure think they're replacing both tackles on Thursday night.
And the fact that Andres Pete, Dennis Allen did say after the game, he was their 8th emergency offensive lineman. So he
open that emergency case. They're using him on Thursday.
Yeah, they're going to have to, it seems like, with what's going on. And by the way, guys, if you can't hear us, there's a lot going on back there. Just throw it in the chat if you can't hear us very well. We'll try to figure out
any audio. You're going to clean that Saints mess off this field, I think.
Yeah, the audio issues.
Or something over there.
Moving right along to our money segment presented by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. Rashid Shaheed's catch for 51 yards in the fourth quarter, that was a money play, but it ended up in that fourth down situation.
It was only a money play because Shaheed saved Carr. I asked him about it after the game. He said he looked at it like a punt in the air, like he had to like kind of watch it like that and go up and get it. That was a terrible pass, but Shaheed went up, stole the interception away, turned it into a nice moment for him. When Shaheed's on it, I really like the way he plays. The issue is we've seen, and he talked about it coming into last year, like sometimes things are just a little bit askew, and like I think there just needs to be more consistency overall.
Well, Shaheed and Carr both said they made the mistake on that one where they went the wrong route, but I believed Shaheed's story more because he gave a very long, detailed description of what he was supposed to do and what he didn't do, and Carr said, that's on me. I have to make sure he knows what, like, you know what I mean? So I think Shaheed made a mistake on that one, and obviously earlier in the game when Derek Carr should have thrown an interception, Shaheed turned inside, Carr threw outside, right into the numbers of the Texans defender. So I'm sure there's still a learning curve with some of those subtleties with Shaheed as well. But obviously the effort, and what was so interesting about that Michael Thomas conversation that you were talking about, where he said they got to play angrier, right before that, he pointed out that Shaheed play, and he pointed out a Chris Olave play that looked very similar, where he went up and he kind of snatched it away from the defender, went up over him, and it was just like I am winning. Like, if this is what it takes, I am going to win this at all costs. Michael Thomas said, I call those desperation plays, and we need to stack desperate. He goes, that's our way out of this. He's the offensive coordinator. He's like, let's just, like, we got to have it. Throw it to me. I'm going to catch it. That's Michael Thomas's solution. If other people could play like Michael Thomas, then they wouldn't have many problems. But his solution is, I want to see that on every play, because that's basically what this team has to do at this point.
Here's my thing with the subtleties, though, and like I know this is what they're saying. It's 6 games.
Yeah.
You had a whole offseason. You had preseason. You had all this stuff. It is 6 games. Like, patience is, like, throw that out. Like, that's done. Like, you got to execute.
I think that's what we heard afterward. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that they're blaming Rashid Shaheed. He's our moment in the game because he made a great play. He also caught the touchdown pass.
That could have been Carr, too. Like, it could have been either one.
But that's why after the game, I mean, there were so many moments today where one guy screwed up so blatantly that players afterward, like, they're not exonerating coaches, and coaches are the reason why they haven't been taught to not screw up. So coaches are to blame, too. But when you see that many screw-ups, you're like, for crying out loud, 6 games into the season, that can't be why we're losing games.
Yeah.
And why did they go away from these big Chris Olave plays that we did see at the beginning of the season? Not seeing him a whole lot in the second half, to me, is something that we definitely need to figure out this week. Like, what's going on with Chris? He even mentioned, he was in his head last week and had to get it corrected and things like that. I don't know. That's something, too, that we got to keep an eye on. Look, when you're struggling this badly on offense, all of those things are going to be talked about. Where's the communication level at? Where's the team chemistry at? Who's stepping up? Who's not? They're all things that we're going to have to pay attention to. But even it seems like Derek Carr's connection with Chris Olave was coming along more than it was with the other receivers, and now it's Derek Carr is thrown to Michael Thomas more on those pressure situations. But I don't know what happened with the Derek Carr-Chris Olave connection, but it seems like that's something that could help this offense if they go back to that.
One of those miscommunications clearly happened in the same spot in the end zone, too, where it looked like Olave was setting up like he was maybe going to give himself space to try for another one-handed catch or to get separation at the last second. As soon as he looked up for it, the ball was landing behind him, and he looked up like, oh, that's not where he expected it to go.
Yeah.
So it felt like every drive had at least one example of, the intentional grounding against Carr was when he clearly thought Michael Thomas was going to be somewhere. I mean, it was all day long. It's maddening.
Whatever the issue is, like even if teams are trying to take Chris away and that's limiting the opportunities, which
we
is
didn't really
understandable.
see him get double teamed. It was Michael Thomas that was getting double teamed.
I mean, like sometimes they'll shade his safety and stuff. Like he does get a little, but like you have to find ways to get. You got to find ways to get him the ball. Find ways to get him off the coverage. Get him involved. Other teams do it with their superstars. I don't remember the last time I saw a star receiver disappear for 3 weeks.
I know.
Like it's just something that can't happen.
It's something that even I was watching some of the national shows, and they were saying that Chris Olave might be the best receiver on this team, and the fact that they haven't really been able to utilize him. I mean, he had the one touchdown, his first, I believe it was his first
last week,
touchdown of the 2023 season last week, but he's had these big plays. Just didn't see that a whole lot today. Look, we do have a player of the game presented by Hart Hyde Strawberry Whiskey, Carl Granderson. Stacking games. I mean, ever since he signed that contract, he has been somebody who has been lights out on defense for the Saints. He had 6 total tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for a loss. It came when they needed it most in the second half, but he's somebody that has shown up when he needs to.
Yeah, the sack was crazy too. Just like a very physical play, just kind of like engulfed C.J. Stroud. He's been money for sure. He's been really good. I got no arguments with that selection.
Yeah, there's a different world where he is the lead to one of our stories, the goal line stand. Like that was a really bad drive for the defense, and pass interference penalty. They get 1st and goal from the 1, and he single-handedly blew up all 3 plays. He was the guy who I'm trying to remember exactly what he did. He on the first one, I think he effected a throw with a QB hit, and the second one he got the tackle for loss against the runner by tearing through the line. The third one he's pressuring Stroud into an incompletion. They had to settle for a field goal, and it felt like that could be a big moment. It did not end up being one, but he did everything he could to make it one. That entire second half, the Texans scored only 3 points.
C.J. Stroud threw his first interception of his
that was the moment of the game, let's be honest.
Zach Bond, don't laugh. And then Zach Bond fumbled it. Texans, they lose 1 yard on the play, but they get the ball back.
1st and 10.
That just kind of felt like emblematic of the season. Like you get this pick, he fumbles, they recover, they gain yards, they get a new set of downs. It turned out to be a positive play for them. It was just kind of like how, I don't know, they just keep shooting themselves in the foot. It's crazy.
What was wild about this game, C.J. Stroud, I thought C.J. Stroud looked really good at times, and there were moments where he was kind of picking the Saints defense apart. He wasn't even afraid to test Marshawn Lattimore. But he ended up 13 of 27. He completed less than 50% of his passes. That's what it looks like when the defense adjusts and gets their act together. That's what we haven't seen from the offense.
I was not surprised at all CJ went after Marshawn. I thought Marshawn would pick him off if he did it. He didn't, but yeah, CJ definitely had his number early in the game, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I need to retract that Chris Olave statement because he ended up leading the team in receiving yards. 10 targets, 7 receptions for 96 yards.
A lot of that happened in the second half.
But when they needed it most on these big, I don't know. Look, there's a lot of things. We don't have the play sheet. Look, the numbers were big, but it felt like a quiet game just because we were so used to seeing him at the beginning of the season. Like, all right, they need points here. They're going to find Chris Olave, and they just weren't able to. That's. I cannot believe reading that he had 96 receiving yards in this game.
The one was the one where he went up. I mean, was it 41 yards, or what does it say for the long next to it?
So 24 yards was the.
Oh, okay, the one where he went up and got it over the guy. My favorite play that they called to him was in 3rd and 2 when Nick only half jokingly said to me, "Is this their first 3rd and 2 of the season?" Well, when they're in 3rd and 2, all of a sudden they got some good play calls on there. They're just very rarely in 3rd and 2.
Well, the Saints might catch some luck this week with the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll see what happens. Look, Trevor Lawrence left the game with a knee injury. We don't have a whole lot of information.
I've heard it's not
just
serious.
that yet. Yeah. It didn't seem like it because he did come back out and actually do a post-game interview. And typically, if you've got a pretty significant injury, you're not running back out there to do the network interview.
I've heard not serious on clear on Thursday night, but we'll see.
We'll see what happens. The Saints desperately need to get back in the win column. They just need to get the ball rolling on offense. I feel like if they're able to put together a couple of games with good offensive performances, it lifts everything else up in the locker room, the things that we've been talking about. Demario Davis having to call a meeting, Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara having to step up, the guys being down in postgame saying we don't feel like we're a 3-3 team. We'll see if they can put it all together. But for Mike Triplett, Nick Underhill, I'm Brooke Kirchhoffer. Thank you guys for joining us live. We will be traveling back to New Orleans this week, and we will be live again on Wednesday on NewOrleans.Football. We'll see you there.